Okay guys, so I'm gonna show you what's still holding on to the tree. I'm gonna start right here with my friend Super Alfonso. Super Alfonso has a few mangoes on the tree. Look how beautiful they look. Super Alfonso still holding a few mangoes on the tree there. So I'm happy that I have a few Super Alfonsos to show you guys. Unfortunately, not all the trees have mangoes like the Super Alfonso. I am extremely happy with Super Alfonso, not to mention the taste. Oh my goodness, last year it was a winner. Anyway guys, I'm gonna continue to move to the next tree. So here is the Valkyrie. Valkyrie, 2 years ago, it was a big winner for me. So Valkyrie's holding a few mangoes still on this tree. Valkyrie, just so you can get an idea of how big the mangoes are. I'm gonna put my hand behind it. There you go. Get an idea how big these mangoes are so far. There we go. So that's Valkyrie. Hopefully, with all this rain, they don't start cracking. Let me move over to my next tree that has some mangoes. I'm only showing you the mangoes, the trees that are actually holding mangoes. It's drizzling a little bit out here, so excuse the drizzle. But this one right here, this one is the Glen. And Glen is holding a few mangoes also. Beautiful looking mangoes, the Glen. Just so you could get an idea again how big these mangoes are getting. Let me just put my hand behind it. It's not that big. This one's a little bigger. But the Glen is always such a beautiful mango. A couple of little ones growing there, some next to the floor over there. Look at that, beautiful Glen. So Glen is holding a few little mangoes. This little guy has been dwarfed, I think because of all the past winters that has almost died on me, is remaining kind of small. But this guy right here has a few little mangoes. And this is a peach, juicy peach, juicy peach. And just so you could get a sense of how big this one is, it's still very small. Still very small. This one started off a little late, but the mangoes are still very small. So hopefully I'll be able to taste juicy peach this year. Oh, there's one in the middle in there too. There he goes. He's hiding in there. Juicy peach. Excellent tasting mango. This is good old Malika. A lot of people have their take on Malika. I happen to be one of those that actually really likes Malika. Now Malika has a few mangoes. Small, different sizes actually. This one's a little bigger. And you have this one here, even bigger still. And then I have a huge one down here. Huge one. This one we are going to enjoy. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Malika. Excellent producing mango. It's pretty good with diseases and all that stuff. So Malika we are going to enjoy. Unfortunately this year, the M4 lost a lot of its mangoes. A lot of them. They just started turning yellow and dropping off like crazy. So sad. Yet last year produced really well for me. This year is only holding 3 mangoes. So here they go. One little guy here still holding on. Another one down here still holding on. And one over here. That was the biggest one out of all of them. It was loaded. Actually, there's one right there also, hanging right there. But this one was loaded with flowers and everything this year, little mangoes, and they all started dropping off, especially with the drought. Everything started to turn yellow no matter how much I hand watered. It was never enough. Here's the orange sherbet. The orange sherbet has a few little mangoes here and there. It's still very small. I have quite a few orange sherbet trees. This year, with all that drought, they couldn't hold on to the fruit. But I would say between the 5 orange sherbet mango trees, I would say I have a scattered anywhere from 12 to 15 mangoes. With all of them combined, it was really, really bad this year. But again, they're all pretty small trees anyway. So I'll cut them some slack, because this is actually a very good producer, and it's pretty good with diseases and all that stuff. So this year was one of those off years. But this one I would definitely recommend for Central Florida. Here goes Super Julie. Who cannot recognize Super Julie with those beautiful mangoes? Oh, I love those colors. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. So the Super Julie is holding a good 4 or 5 mangoes. Hopefully it doesn't drop whatever it has left. It was loaded, and little by little started to drop everything. Look at this one. This one looks terrible back here. I hope it doesn't fall off. Yeah, but everything looks pretty clean. I think I only sprayed twice this year. But with all that heat and all that stuff, the combination of everything, the mango trees didn't do good this year. But anyway, Super Julie. This is good old reliable Kathy. Kathy was loaded. It dropped a lot of mangoes also because of the drought. But it always manages to hold something for me. Always hold something. Look at that. Look how beautiful. And those were mixed blooms, by the way. Look, if you look at it closely, those were all mixed blooms these mangoes came out of. So between all the Kathy trees that I have, which this is the biggest one out of all of them, I would say I probably have anywhere from maybe 20 Kathys, 20 Kathy mangoes. And I love Kathy, so I'm looking forward to tasting these Kathys. Coconut cream. This is the largest coconut cream that I have, so it's still very, very small. But so far they're holding on. They're looking beautiful. They're a good size so far. They need to grow a little more. But look, this is what's been happening. They've been turning yellow and falling off. At least these guys right here have some color. And when they have some color, hopefully they'll be able to hold on to the end. These guys down here are fighting. We've had a good amount of water in these past couple of days, but it's still not enough. I would say between the small trees that I have of this variety and this big tree all together, coconut cream, I'll probably have a good 10 to 12 coconut creams this year. So sad. Lemon Zest has been a disappointment this year. This is the only lemon zest tree out of the 1, 2, 3 trees that I have. And this is a mid-size, the one in the middle. Actually, this is the smallest one I have. And the 2 larger ones didn't hold a damn thing. They got hammered with powdery mildew and anthracnose. I did spray twice, but it still wasn't enough. But this guy, with only twice spraying and it being a dirty tree, if you could see this, it's a very dirty tree. It's the ugliest tree that I have. The other ones don't have all this, but this one being ugly and everything, it actually held some fruit. And they're pretty large. Look at this. Pretty large fruit. Pretty large fruit. Lemon zest. So hopefully it'll hold on a little longer, and I'll be able to taste some of this lemon zest this year. Looking forward to it. I hate dealing with lemon zest because of all the diseases. See, look at this. Look at this. This is terrible. Look at that. See what I'm talking about? But at least I have a few nice looking mangoes that I'll be able to taste this year with a friend or two. Lemon zest. Piña Colada. Piña Colada, one of my favorite. They're all very small still, all small. But it is a small mango anyway. So it's holding a few little Piña Coladas right here on this side. Piña Colada this year has been good to me because both this tree and its sister tree over here are holding, for being such a small tree, are holding a good amount of mangoes. And this also was only sprayed twice. Now it did catch an ugly anthracnose, but look at that. Piña Colada between both sisters. This one and that one over there. I would say that I have a good about 20 Piña Coladas. And I have another little one over the hill over there that's also holding a good 5 to 7 mangoes as well, Piña Colada. So that's good, that's good, that's good. I call this one the bowling ball mango. This is good old Venus, reliable Venus. Look at how big Venus is getting. And this is not even close to where it gets. Look how big Venus is getting. It's gonna get much bigger than that. But it has a few nice looking mangoes on it. So we're definitely gonna be able to taste Venus this year. Hopefully, God willing. There's no storms or anything that will knock them off and destroy the crop. But Venus is always a reliable mango. Very happy with Venus. There's even some inside the tree like last year. But look at that. We're gonna be able to taste Venus this year. And I have a second Venus tree over on that end that has a good 5 or 6 mangoes also holding on, which is great. This is the other M4 that's holding mangoes. So this M4 is doing good. Much better than the other one. I don't know what happened to the other one this year. But at least this one's holding a few. We'll be able to taste some M4 mangoes this year. Excellent. There we go. Oh, wow, they're getting bigger. They're getting bigger. This is going to be much bigger than that, though. M4. We have this little fruit punch tree. Fruit punch mango. It's holding on to two little mangoes. They're beautiful. Holding on to 2 little mangoes here. Wow, that has a weird look. But it is a small little tree. Let me slide over to the other fruit punch mango tree that I have here. This one's holding much bigger mangoes. It's looking really nice. Fruit punch. Some nice fruit punch mangoes right here. Just so you could get an idea of the size of these beautiful mangoes. Look at that, it's like a violet purple. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at this. Look at the size of that. Amazing. Get away from my mangoes. Get out of here, chihuahuas. Look at that. Beautiful purple sheen. Just love the look of that. But with all this rain, look what's been happening also to the little ones. Look, look. All this rain has been splitting them up. So sad. Oh, I see one hiding in there. Well, I guess I'll be able to taste between this one, the other one, and the one that I have in the front is 3 different fruit punch mangoes. I should have at least 10 to 12 fruit punch mangoes. Angie was loaded this year. Unfortunately, with all those winds, all that rain, and then the drought, it dropped a lot of its mangoes. It was so sad and heartbreaking to see because Angie always produces very, very well for me. This year, I'm only going to have a few little Angies. Oh, so sad, so sad. Just a few little Angies. Some outside the gate right there, up there, and on the other side, a few hanging up here. Little Angie there, little Angie there. So I would say in total, I don't think it's even a 10 Angies. In total. So sad. But Angie is a reliable mango. That one I would definitely recommend for Central Florida. And fruit punch as well. And Piña Colada has done good for me. So I would recommend all those 3. This is good old Nanduk Mai. Nanduk Mai was loaded and it had flowers galore. And between the anthracnose and the powdery mildew, it did a number on it. There's still a couple of hidden mangoes in there. You know, Nanduk Mai is supposed to get bigger than that. It's been dropping a lot of mangoes, So sad. Look, all these little drop mangoes all over the floor. So sad. But it still has a few. Hopefully I'll be able to taste 2 or 3 of them this year. God willing. It's trying to flower again, but as you can see, look. Still some powdery mildew on that stuff. Terrible. Doesn't want to go away. Doesn't want to go away. Look up here. Pretty. Some Nanduk Mai. We'll be able to taste some Nanduk Mai this year. Yes. As they're in there, they're in there. They're in the canopy in there. They're in there. Look at this little cluster in there. Inside the canopy. So, Nanduk Mai is one of those mangoes that it's an old timer. It's like eating sweet, juicy honey. Pickering took a beating this year. It had tons and tons of flowers and panicles, and as you can see, everything dropped from the top. Everything. Pickering has some hidden in there. So, oh no, look at all these drops. Oh man, look at all these drops. Terrible drops. Has one hanging there. This one's gonna drop also, so sad. Might as well make it drop too. It has one hidden here. Has one hidden there. Has one in here. Very little. Look at this. Look at this. Terrible. Look, that's gonna be a drop. That's gonna be a drop. Drops galore. Look at that. Drops galore. Disappointing for this variety this year. I think it tried the best it could, but with all that drought and the diseases that came along, let me show you the other little Pickering over here. I doubt if this Pickering is holding anything. Look at this. So sad. Look at that. Terrible. Look, more drops. Drops. Holding one there. There's one there. One there, and this is gonna be another drop. So sad. Look at that. Drops. So between the two, I would say maybe 9, most 10. And here we have the Cogshall. Some people call it Cogshall. Most people say Cogshall mango. It's holding a few little mangoes here and there. They're good size already. Now, to my understanding, there could be 2 varieties of Cogshall. One that looks more like this, which is on the website of Tropical Acres and Alex's website. It looks more like this. And then there's a Cogshall that looks big and bumpy like my friend's Cogshall over there in Orlando. The Orlando Cuban Gardener. The American Cuban Gardener. What a name, right? What a name. So yeah, that Cogshall has a few little mangoes. And then I have this little Cogshall that was also gifted to me by the American Cuban Gardener, Gwendolyn. And look at this. This little guy has a few still trying to hold on. So I think between both Cogshall, probably like 10 to 12 mangoes around there. The good old Mahachanook, very loyal, very faithful. But look at this big crack. Oh my goodness. All this water just, after that drought, so much water all in one shot, it cracked it. But some of these guys are almost ready. They just need a little bit of a blush and they're good to go. I have a few Mahachanook trees, but this one, for some reason, this one did better than the rest. The rest looked terrible. They didn't do well. Let me walk over to the ones that didn't do well. This guy right here, dropped almost everything. I mean, everything dropped. Only has a few little guys over here. Few little guys. Yeah. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So this one has like 3 or 4 on there. And then this Mahachanook over here dropped a lot of them too. There's one just sitting on the floor. And then there's these guys. This one's beautiful. Now Mahachanook is one of those varieties that this little Mahachanook here had a couple of them and they all dropped. See, nothing on this one. So Mahachanook is one of those varieties that is interesting because my understanding, the best Mahachanook around is the one from Excalibur Nurseries, and so they say. But I myself, in my own yard, have tasted Mahachanook, and they do not taste the same. Like from one tree to another tree, it could taste a little different. And this is what I was telling Paul, Brother Paul. I was telling Paul and the Orlando gardener, Kevin, that me, myself, I've tasted and believe that there's at least 3 different types of Mahachanook. They range in size, they range in color, and they definitely range in taste. So they're not all the same. And some of them are superb and some of them are not that great. But it is pretty good with diseases and all that stuff. This year, it was mostly the winds that really did it. After those big, strong winds, they just started falling off the tree. But I do recommend Mahachanook. Carrie, like always, a lot of male flowers. And what wasn't killed off by it being a male flower, the anthracnose and the powdery mildew did a number on it. It's holding maybe, I would say 1, 2, 1, 2, there goes 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 1 on the other tree, 5. It's holding only 5 fruit between the 2 trees. So sad. Oh, there goes 1 hidden. Maybe 6 fruit. But it's still too early. They still need to develop. So let's see how Carrie does to the end. I'm still very iffy. I don't recommend Carrie for Central Florida for now. Neelam did terrible with its first bloom. This is Neelam's second bloom. And these little mangoes don't look good. They don't look good at all. It's trying, Neelam is trying, but... And I love Neelam. Neelam tastes like coconut. It has a coconut taste. Neelam is actually a very good variety. I like Neelam. See, it's trying to bloom again. Neelam is a consistent bloomer. Just like the little dwarf Hawaiian from Puerto Rico. Dwarf Hawaiian also likes to bloom a lot. So what happened was that the first time I eliminated all the flowers because they looked terrible. And it started to bloom right away again. I do recommend Neelam for Central Florida. Here goes Cac. The Cac mango. Such a beautiful mango. Look at that. Cac. It's trying to hold a couple of mangoes here and there. I have 2 cac trees. The other one's way too small to produce. So it hasn't really produced. All this water, look what's happening with all the water. It's bleeding out some of the water from the top. You see that? It's getting so much water now because of all this water. Hopefully they don't start to crack or anything, but I think cac, probably a good 8 to 10 mangoes may survive. We'll see. Cac is a top-notch mango. Excellent, excellent mango. I do recommend it for Central Florida. This is my mystery mango tree. This mango tree was here when I moved in. Unfortunately, I cut it down all the way to the bottom because I didn't like the fact that it was so close to the shed right here. I made a big mistake because the mangoes on this were delicious. I believe it may be an offspring of Gary. The Gary mango it reminds me so much of the Gary mango. But since I cut it down all the way down to the bottom, I'm not sure if it was a grafted tree or it was a seedling tree, an unidentified new variety. But it's holding tons and tons of mangoes. It fought off the powdery mildew. It fought off the anthracnose, and it is still loaded. And it's lost quite a few mangoes. It's lost quite a bit, but it's still loaded. Look at this. In clusters, beautiful and green. Now the mango that I ate from this had a strong coconut taste. It was orange inside, and it reminded me a lot of the Carrie mango, but I couldn't be sure what it is. I'm thinking it was probably a seedling off of Carrie, a seed that they probably threw in the ground, and it grew. It grew. Look at all these clusters. If anybody could identify this mango for me, I'll be very appreciative. But I really believe that this may be a new variety coming along. Then again, it could be turpentine, but I think it's too big for turpentine because I did cut it all the way to the bottom. But this tree is loaded, loaded, loaded. So I have a feeling that this may be a new variety, maybe an offspring off of Carrie. I could be mistaken, but it does have the resemblance, the look of the mango that I remember from before. So it could be the same variety. I thought that I did away with it when I cut it all the way to the bottom, but that sucker came right back up. Look at that. It's loaded. Loaded, 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 loaded. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful to see? Now, I don't know if I'm going to be so happy if it turns out to be turpentine, but I doubt it. I think it's too big for a turpentine. If anybody could try to identify that mango. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful looking mango. There it is, as compared to my hand. Let me just put my hand behind it so you can see the size so far. That's the size so far. And they're happy to have received all this water too, because a lot of them were falling off. They were falling off. Look at all those clusters. Look at all that. They were falling off like crazy because of the lack of water. Look at that. See that? They're in clusters. I think the bigger ones are down here. Look at that. They're hanging on the Monstera deliciosa. But this is loaded. Look, even inside the tree. Even inside the tree is loaded in there. So hopefully this is the same variety I had before, and if it is, I hit the jackpot with this new variety. It was delicious, 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 delicious. It had a strong coconutty aftertaste. Oh man, strong, strong coconut. Look at that. So let's see, Gwendolyn, if we might have a new variety here. We'll be tasting this soon, because I remember that this variety, I waited till it had tinges of yellow on it when I took it, and it had a strong coconutty taste. It was mostly green with tinges of yellow on it. Pink St. Moon was loaded at one time, but as time went by, it started to lose all of its fruit. Look at this. So sad. So sad. Look at that. Some of the fruit is a little beat up. It's still holding some fruit though. We'll be able to taste some Pink St. Moon. So it has a few fruit on it. Not as much as I would have liked. Look at that. Yeah. Pink St. Moon. My other tree at the other property is doing much better, and it's holding a lot more mangoes. Now the other Pink St. Moon that I have looks like it's a longer variety. This one looks like a shorter variety. So now I'm questioning whether the other one is Pink St. Moon or not. But we shall see. So I have two ice cream trees, ice cream mango. This one's holding only two little ice cream mango trees. I mean, two little ice cream mangoes. It didn't have a lot to begin with. It's not a good producer here in Central Florida. And the other one is in the yard back there. And I had to remove all the flowers because they were prone to anthracnose and they were prone to powdery mildew. And then it bloomed for a second time, and it's holding a few little mangoes here and there. But even though the mango is a superb mango, an excellent mango in every way, I would not recommend this tree for Central Florida. So sorry. And this is the last tree that I have that have a few mangoes on it. And this is the Orange Essence. Orange Essence, guys. It's holding a few little mangoes here and there. Has a nice little cluster of mangoes there. Has one hidden in there. Has another one there. Another one there. Some here. Some there. There. They're still small. You might think this looks pretty healthy, pretty big, but they're not as compared to my hand. These suckers get big. These get big. This is a late season mango. So this should be holding on to this tree for quite some time, so I'm worried. And look, it bloomed again and is trying to hold a couple of little mangoes here and there. But this one I'm a little worried about because this is a late season one. It looks like it's holding a few mangoes here and there. Looks really nice. But as you know, these guys are supposed to get really big. And by the time that happens, I don't know how many more I would lose. But Orange Essence, excellent, excellent mango. I would recommend Orange Essence for Central Florida. And with that, I'm Juan Carlos, the school teacher. Living with mangoes. Peace.